Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, this is my 2002 Range Rover Vogue with a 4.4 litre V8 petrol engine. I bought it from eBay from a place down in Somerset for just £1,600 and I'm quite impressed with it so far. Now in part one you'll have seen me pick this up from Somerset. In fact, I picked it up from Joe at Shifting Metal. He'd serviced it for me and collected it for me, and then I drove it back up north. Then when I got it back up north, I did some minor modifications. So I changed the old supercharged grille for this original one. I bought a new lamp lens for it, an indicator unit. I put some new reg plates on it. I removed the privacy glass and I fitted some new rear lights. And straight away it looks a whole lot more, well, original and genuine. It's still got quite a few issues, but overall I'm really impressed with it. So in today's video, if you'd like to join me, we're going to try and get this car looking its absolute best. Hopefully by the end of this video, well, hopefully you won't be able to recognise it. Mechanically, it already had a full engine service down at Shifting Metal, so that's been done. I took it to my mechanics and had them check over it, and it's got a few little minor issues. There's an oil leak, I think coming from the rocker cover gasket, so I need to get that booked in. There's a coolant leak coming from the water pump, so I need to replace that. And there's a fault with the air suspension, which I suspect is a ride height sensor, so we'll get that done as well. But apart from that, everything else checked out okay. They said the previous owners obviously spent a fortune on this, maintaining it, because it's had new brake lines, new brake discs and pads all around, new suspension arms, everything's new. Everything's been replaced within the last 24 months. So I'm quite impressed. And I just think now, for £1,600, well, I'm over the moon with it really. Let me talk you through what else it needs. So first up, there's a bit of trim loose here. So I need to get this sorted because right now it's being held together by cable ties. Moving around the sides, I need to get the wheels refurbished because they look a bit scabby and flaky. The tyres are all okay, so that's good. It needs a full buff and clean, and I'd like to paint the door handles. It had these horrible chrome handles which are popped off, but they look a bit of a mess underneath, so we'll get those painted. Moving around the back, there's a split in the rear bumper, so I'll get that mended and then painted. Also, while we're painting the door handles, I'll paint this trim because it's the exact same colour. That's pretty much it then cosmetically. I'm fairly certain with a good buff and polish, all these marks will come out. It'll have a nice deep shine. This colour is called Oslo Blue and it's a really good colour for a Range Rover. In fact, George Michael had one in the exact same colour. I saw it on the internet when I was looking. Do you remember the interior trim on the bottom of the seat, the valance around the bottom? That was broken. Well, I replaced it. Take a look at that. This was really hard to get hold of, by the way, but it's transformed it. In addition to that, there are a few little pieces of trim broken on the interior, which I'll sort, and then it's pretty much there. The final job will be cleaning it and detailing it. So the first up then is Prestige Wheels over in Bredbury. I'm going to get these wheels refurbished. What they'll do is strip them, leave them in a bath overnight, I think, to completely strip them, and then powder coat them and they'll look as good as new. So let's get moving. Well, we're back with my cheap Range Rover. I was planning to bring you along for the journey, but sadly it didn't really work out that way. Things got in the way. Anyway, it's all now finally ready, so I thought today I'd give you a tour of it and tell you exactly what I've had done and how much it's cost me. I think you'll agree though, it looks amazing. You'd never guess this was the same old scruffy car that I bought on eBay for just £1,600. As you'll soon find out, I have massively overspent on this car, but I think it was worth it. I mean, just look at it now. On a nice sunny day with the sun beating down on this metallic Oslo Blue paint, I think it looks stunning. Now you have to remember when I bought this car, it was a bit of a dog. It had the valance hanging down on the front, it had a broken headlamp, broken indicator, horrible chrome door handles, drug dealer privacy glass, flaking wheels, the paintwork was a mess, it had a split bumper. Anyone with an ounce of common sense or business acumen would have walked away from this car, but not me. I stuck with it till the very end. Before I give you the grand tour then and work out my expenses, I just need to say a big thank you to today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Car Vertical. Now, before you buy a used car or motorbike, it's really important that you do a thorough vehicle history check. And with Car Vertical, that couldn't be easier. All you need to do is go to carvertical.com and type in the reg or the VIN. It doesn't take long and it isn't expensive. And it's cheaper still if you use my promo code HIGHPEAK. That's HIGHPEAK, all one word, HIGHPEAK, and you'll save yourself 20% off each and every check that you do. It's really important that you do this though, because there are just so many dodgy cars out there. I'd hate for you to end up buying one. So this will tell you whether it's ever been stolen, written off, had a mileage rollback, or has outstanding finance on it. In addition to that, it shows you the ownership changes, the reg plate changes, the MOT history, the spec, the average market value, and a whole lot more. Sometimes, you know, if it has been involved in an accident, it even shows you photographs of the recorded damage. Also, and I've had this a few times actually, it showed me photographs from the last time the car was advertised, so you can compare what the car looks like now and what it looked like 2 or 3 years ago. It's not just a UK thing either, it works in over 35 different countries. So if the car's had a bump in Belgium or a crash in Croatia? I'm running out of countries. So if it has had a bump in Belgium or been sideswiped in Switzerland, this will tell us. So yeah, don't forget to do a car vertical report before you buy a used car or motorbike. And also don't forget to use my promo code HIGHPEAK for 20% off. Okay, then where should we start? It's quite a long list actually. In fact, let me get my list. Okay, this is like War and Peace, this. We'll start at the front then, shall we? So the car was £1,600, which was very cheap. Suspiciously cheap, actually. But then, as is often the case, it quickly became not so cheap. The first thing I had done was a full engine service. That was done for me by Joe at Barrow Motors. This car originally came from Frome down in Somerset. So a friend of mine picked it up, and then Joe from Barrow Motors picked it up from him, and then serviced it for me. So it's had a full engine service, new spark plugs, new fluids, new filters, the whole lot. That cost me £377.84. We should do a bit of a running total here, shouldn't we? So £1,600 plus £377.84. Now, the new grille cost me £35. The old one, well, the old one had a busted grille. It had a hideous supercharged style, I've still got it in the boot actually. I don't know why. Anyway, I think you'll agree this replacement grille looks a whole lot better. This is exactly how the car would have looked when it left the factory. This cost me £35 from eBay, and I fitted that myself. As you remember in part 1 of this video, I was using the wrong tools and never heard the end of it. I never said I was a mechanic, did I? Just a DIYer. What else did I do next? The bonnet struts. Now the old bonnet struts, which is quite worrying really. I think it's had the bonnet up several times in its life. The old bonnet struts had given up the ghost. So a new pair cost me £10.49, again from eBay. I needed a new indicator because the old one had a hole in it, which isn't quite right. That cost me £48.90. The headlamp though, which was also cracked, that was quite a bit cheaper. Nearly half price actually. That was £26.24. Then follow me around to the back actually. I replaced both rear lights because again, one was damaged. This one I think had a hole in it, and this one just looked worse for wear. So I bought a pair from a company called Powerful UK. They sold me a pair of, they're slightly facelifted actually, because they've now got this reflector stripe in the side, which looks a bit more modern. They cost me a lot, £140 for the pair. I replaced the boot struts because again, a bit like the bonnet struts, they'd seen better days. So they cost me £11.59. I bought some new reg plates for it because I didn't like the look of the originals. They cost me £25. The old ones looked a bit scruffy and they were in the wrong font. Now, I know I'm a bit of a car nerd really, but I just couldn't live with that. It was winding me up. It was bothering my OCD. So they've been replaced. Moving around the side, you might disagree with me on this decision, but I fitted side steps. Now, some people prefer them without because it looks a bit cleaner, but I just think it's easier, well, it's easy to get in and out of for a start, and the whole car just looks a bit chunkier because of them. So they cost me £110.10, but then I had to buy the rear mud flaps, which weren't included. They cost me £22. But again, I just think they've made the whole car look a bit more agricultural. The window tints I removed myself. That was featured in the first part of the video. Again, I probably didn't do it the right way, but we got there in the end. Oh, next up then, I had the wheels refurbished. So I took this over to Prestige Wheels in Bredbury and had them stripped and then powder coated, and they look as good as new. That cost me £330. On the front wheels in particular, they'd been badly curbed as well. But now I think you'll agree, they look as good as new. While we're around the front, I also replaced this little towing eye cover. They often fall off, so again, that was a quick eBay fix. That cost me £13.48. Now let's come around the side then. The valance on the driver's seat was all cracked, so I managed to find one. It was the only one on eBay. This whole piece of trim here has been replaced. That cost me, that was quite expensive, that cost me £155.23. But I think it's quite an important piece because that was the first thing your eyes were drawn to when you opened the door. So thankfully now when you open the door, it's nice and tidy. The next thing then, and perhaps my biggest bill, was the paintwork. So, let me tell you exactly what Jimmy the Magician did then. He repaired and painted the rear bumper. That was a bit of a mess actually. He's also painted the offside lower rear quarter, removed rust and paint. He's also painted the inner rear arches. Let's have a look at this. If you remember, these were a bit of a mess. So when you open the door, this is quite a common issue on L322s. They always seem to rust around this arch. Somebody had repaired it, but they just painted it in black. So Jimmy's painted it in Oslo blue, so now at least it matches the rest of the car. He's painted all the door handles. I think this colour's called something like Brunel Grey. Brunel, yeah, definitely Brunel, not Brunei. Brunel Grey. And he's also painted this rear trim on the boot lid in the same colour. He's painted all the black bits of trim back to black, which includes all the bits around the wheel arches. So again, from a distance now, you just can't see any rust. Everything looks nice and tidy and clean. Then he washed and clay barred the whole car. He flattered it with 3000s, then buffed, then polished it, then waxed it. What else? Black areas underneath, yeah, we've mentioned that. So my total bill there was £695. But I think that was worth every penny because it now looks amazing. Before it was covered in swirl marks, and now, well, not only is it as smooth as glass, but you can almost see your reflection in it. We're nearly there now, guys, just bear with me a second. The next bits then were the mechanical bits. So if you remember, I'd had this checked over by my mechanic and it had an oil leak and a coolant leak. Look at those bonnet struts. So we've had those replaced. So it's had new rocker cover gaskets, so there's no oil leak. It's also had a new water pump, so there's no coolant leak either. It's also had a new battery while it was there. Now, the bill at my mechanic's was £682.44. The last thing I needed to do then was get it cleaned. So I went to Tameside Detailing for a full valet, and I picked it up from there this morning. And I'm just blown away by it. I think it looks amazing. At this point then, I've kind of lost track of my spend, which is probably for the best, but I think it's something like £4,350, there or thereabouts. Which, when you think the car started out at £1,600... Causing chaos, aren't we? I need my own lay-by somewhere, don't I, really? With a good view. Yeah. Which, when you think I bought the car for just £1,600, it is kind of a massive overspend, isn't it? But still, looking at it now, I've got no regrets. I've had a quick look on the internet to see what these cars are going for, as I always do. I'm always looking at L322s on Auto Trader. And I think this is probably worth, well, in this condition, somewhere between £4,000 and £5,000. So as a profit-making exercise, well, it's completely pointless. It was a completely wasted exercise. However, I've saved another L322, which is something I'm really proud of. To be fair, it's not always about the profit, is it? I mean, at this point, it's kind of like my hobby. You know, some people play golf, some people ride a bike. I like to rescue thirsty old V8 Range Rovers. Right, anyway, I think we're causing chaos here. We're annoying all the locals, so should we go for a drive? We'll do some more talking. Right, follow me. Right then, so you know what, the thing that really surprised me about the car was how well it had been maintained. Now, I'm not talking cosmetically because it looked a bit ropey, didn't it? But like underneath, my mechanic said that everything had been done. New brake lines, new brakes, tyres were all good, new suspension arms, new suspension components. It had all been done, so somebody spent a fortune on it. And I believe that because even my air conditioning is ice cold. Now, usually that's the last thing people bother with, especially here in the UK. I buy and sell 40 cars a month, and usually nobody bothers repairing the air conditioning. But this, I was really pleasantly surprised with. It's like being sat in a fridge. In terms of the way this drives, it's nice and solid and tight. Every single bump you go over or pothole you ride over, there's no knocks or clunks, which just confirms that somebody has indeed spent a lot of money maintaining this car. It's got that nice BMW naturally aspirated 4.4 litre V8, which produces about 270 horsepower. It's just a really nice engine. In fact, it's one of my favourites, to be honest. It makes such a nice tone. There are a couple of little jobs that I need to do to the interior. So for example, you might have noticed my sunglass holder here is broken. So I need to fix that or replace it. And also my centre console handle has come off. So I need to replace that. But apart from that, we've got quite a nice example, really. The car's interior was quite grubby, and now after its valet, it's got nice and clean. I actually prefer this interior to the interior on Vet 9. That one's got the lighter cherry wood, which looks a bit cheap. This one looks far classier. Something else I need to get round to fixing is the steering column adjuster. It's just completely dead. I'm hoping it's a fuse or something and not a motor. Still, even if it is a motor, I'm sure I can find a replacement part from eBay. That shouldn't be too expensive. Like I said to you about this being a hobby of mine, it kind of is. I've always loved these cars. Ever since they came out back in 2002, I've kind of been obsessed with them. The sad thing is, they're now very old and very cheap, which of course means they fall into the hands of people who don't really care for them. So they just abuse them, and then invariably they get scrapped. And I just think that's a terrible shame. So what I like to do then is find an unloved one, and then try and make it as nice as I possibly can. And I think with this one, it's a case of, well, mission accomplished, really. I've never had one in Oslo Blue, but it's such a pretty colour. I think it suits the car really well. When I was a kid and I lived in Spain, a neighbour of mine had one in Oslo Blue, and every single time it would drive past, I'd always be quite envious. I'd always look at it and think, one day I'm going to get one of those. I seem to remember theirs being a 3-litre diesel though, which sounds like a bag of nails. What you really want is this 4.4-litre petrol. Yes, it's a little bit thirsty, you'll be doing 13 or 14 miles per gallon. But having said that, on a run you'll get 20, 22. It's not good, is it? But it's not completely atrocious, is it? One thing to point out though, they do have a massive fuel tank, so filling one of these up will set you back about 140 quid. But still, this isn't a car that I'd use every day, so it doesn't really matter. That tank of fuel would probably last me a month or 6 weeks. The way these pick up speed though is quite impressive. It isn't the quickest car in the world, but they still feel quite nippy. And of course they have that lovely V8 burble that you really can't beat. I forgot to tell you actually, but when I bought this, the air suspension wasn't working. I was kind of hoping it was something simple like a ride height sensor. It wasn't even that. All my mechanic did was plug it in, reset it, and it works fine. I've done plenty of miles on this now, and it hasn't faulted since. So I think it could have been something like a, I don't know, dodgy battery, or, I don't know, just might not have felt like working that day. But now it all works fine. It goes up and down perfectly, exactly as it should. So, I had a bit of a result there, didn't I? There's just something about the way these cars drive. They're just so effortless, so smooth. They're a really calming place to be. They're not the most dynamic, there's a bit of body roll and stuff in the corners, but I don't really care because I don't drive quickly. And you know what I think's really cool about the L322 now, especially the pre-facelift, so from 2002 to 2005, you know, models which look like this. I think they're that old now that when you see people driving them, it's clearly a choice. You're not driving it because that's all you can afford, you can't afford a newer one. You're driving it because you like them and you're passionate about them. And I think that in itself is quite cool. That's why I particularly love to see one like this, like Vet 9. Dark colour, nice light interior, no privacy glass, no chrome, just nice and original, nice and classy. I just think there's something really stately about them. I think they're quite majestic and regal. I honestly can't believe my air conditioning works. Such a pleasant surprise, especially on a nice warm day like today. So, like I said earlier then, I don't think there's a business model here. I couldn't do this for profit, it'd be pointless. I think if I advertised this car for 4,995, I'd probably have some interest, but I think their expectations would be too high. I think you've got to appreciate that this is a 23-year-old car now, so it isn't going to be mint. I've got it as good as I possibly can, but it's still an old car. Things will break. You will get the odd warning light on, no doubt. I think you've got to be mindful of that, really. So no, as a business plan going forward, I couldn't do this for a living. There'd be no profit there. It'd be a completely pointless exercise. But as a hobby, then I think I shall continue to do it. I quite like it. It's kind of like my niche now. I know exactly what I'm doing with them. I know how they should look. I know where to get all the bits from. And I know how to, well, I was going to say I know how to work on them, but you'd probably disagree. I know how to change a grille and a rear light lens. What I'd like to do next is find another one. Only a low mileage example. All the ones I've got, this one's done 141, Vet 9's done 144 or 145. I'd like to find one with like 80,000 miles on or less, and then do all the jobs to it and then keep that one. That's what I'd like to do. But I think until one falls in my lap like that, then I'll probably just continue doing this. I just find myself needing a bit of a creative outlet sometimes, and it comes in the form of gently restoring old L322s. Anyway, on that note, thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. I'll leave the links below. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Cheers guys.